Good evening, Carol, Marilyn, Douglas. So I could see everyone on Facebook. If I go to my Facebook app, you will just see me.
Perfect.
It's when you have a second device. Hi, Anna. Anna Berry's with us.
Hey, Anna.
So we wait till we get to a certain number of people and then we start. Okay. So we get a good number. Right now we're at 63. So we try to get to, used to go to 50, and then we started at about 100-ish. So we know people usually waiting for us and and then come on. And so, hi, Doc Rom. Anna Berry says, hello, Neal.
Hey, Anna.
Ellen. Carol. Hello, Faye. Lynn, good to see you. So on a live chat, they all start to make comments and they'll say hello or good evening, and then they'll ask questions. Jim Rossi is from Maine, he says. George Roman. Some of these names might be familiar to you. Hello, Doc Rom. I didn't know you were in Texas. Ruth Newman. Linda Levine. Hello, Gerald. Gerald always asks lots of questions. We're getting closer. We're at 93. Hello, Gwen. Gwen's in Vero Beach. Susie Sandor. You saw Susie at the rally. She had the blue hair and holding the sign for the retirees. Hi, Benet. Good to see you. I haven't seen you forever, Benet. Very good. Hello, John. Eileen, good to see you. George says Canarsy's in the house. Ruth says hello from Florida. All right, so we're at 104 people and we're going to start. So tonight we're changing up our format a little bit. I have a guest with me. Some of you may know if you're a DC37 retiree, or if you've been on the street with us a few times, you know Neal Frumkin. Neal is a DC37 retiree. He's from their e-board. We were just together at the rally the other day in support of the DC37 retirees. So I brought on Neal today to introduce himself and talk a little bit about what's happening and what he needs DC37 retirees or anyone from AFSCME retirees who's from an AFSCME local to help us out with. So, Neal, welcome.
Thank you, Marianne, and good evening, everybody out there in cyberspace. So,
there you
go. As Marianne said, Wednesday we had a fantastic demonstration in front of our former offices at 75 Maiden Lane. I think that office is probably vacant most of the time now because the AFSCME folks, somebody went up on Wednesday, middle of the day, knocked on the door, nobody was there. That space would have normally been occupied by staff trying to answer the phones and dealing with members' problems. So I don't know if they're doing that, how they're doing it. Serving the people is what I've been about the better part of my life. So let me just give you a little of the bio. The 26th of February was my anniversary of starting to work for the city of New York.
Congratulations.
56 years prior is when I started. Worked in what was called the Bureau of Public Assistance. It changed the name over the years many times, I guess because it was infamous. Welfare Department, Bureau, HRA, Department of Social Services, all kinds of incantations to try and confuse people. Anyway, first day that I reported to work, I asked who the shop stewards were, and I was introduced to a couple of folks who were the stewards at my office at 330 J Street. And I said, I've been an activist in college. I want to be active in my union. And I did that. I did that all the years that I worked for the city. And when I retired in 2002, I came to my first retiree meeting, and I told Stu Leibowitz, who was head of the association at that time, Stu, I want to do solidarity work now that I don't have to work for a living. What can I do? He said, well, we don't have a solidarity committee, but if you want to do that, here's the franchise, build one. And later on, I became a associate vice president for inter-union relations, sort of had to do with solidarity actions. And now I am the vice president of inter-union relations for the Retirees Association. And I've been doing that a long time. I also am a trustee on DC37's Health and Security board. And so I get a lot of questions. My phone rings off the hook. My wife doesn't like it very much, but I get a lot of calls about issues regarding the prescription drug plan, dental plan, optical plan, and all the other plans we have. I met Marianne right after this whole issue of Medicare Advantage was being discussed in DC37. I'm a delegate to their delegates assembly, and Henry Garrido started talking about a plan that was being hatched. It was not yet approved by the Municipal Labor Committee, but he was giving the whys and wherefores and how they were going to have a health plan that was the best thing since sliced bread. And somehow some of this
we
stuff
got moldy bread.
It sounded like there might be some green mold in the bread, and didn't believe everything I was being told, and didn't like the fact that retirees had no input as to what was going on with our health benefits. It did not seem right that the Retiree Association, for example, had no representation at all in discussing what's going on and why this was going on. So there was a lot of back and forth that went on in the DA. And I was asked, Mike Stein asked me if I would come on to a meeting and of former EMT workers who had like a social network that met online. And I met this young lady who was very interested in all these goings on and seemed like she wanted to fight. And she has. So for the past 3 years, I've been involved in this struggle. Marianne has been at the tip of the spear. That's what I would say, that she has made it go. And I said on Wednesday at the rally, if it wasn't for Marianne, we would probably right now all be suffering under a Medicare disadvantage plan. And I don't say that to give Marianne a swelled head. It's just, as I used to say on, I think, Dragnet, just the facts.
Just the facts, man. Just the facts.
Exactly. So, and credit due. Give credit where credit is due. I believe in that.
Well, thank you for being with me.
Well, this is a struggle that has a lot of participants, and including all the participants that are on this Zoom tonight, and all the participants who came out to the rally on Wednesday. I appreciate all of their involvement, and we tried to be very inclusive at that rally. We had a lot of speakers. I tried to make sure that some of the speakers were people who don't normally speak at the rally. So we had a school crossing guard who, by the way, used to cross my daughter on her way to elementary school. My daughter is 50 years old, so it's a long time ago. And Sally is not a major public speaker, but she spoke from the heart. She spoke based on her life and the life that she knows other retirees in her local 372 face. And that is a life and death issue of having enough money for food, rent, medical care, and prescription drugs. It's a choice. It's a choice that people should not have to make. But it is certainly something that is an issue for retirees in District Council 37 because we have a relatively low average level of retirement benefits. It's about $22,000 a year. Some are making much more than that. Some are making a lot less. And Sally is representative of some of the folks that make less. So I want to acknowledge also that there were people from the Professional Staff Congress, the UFT. I saw people from other locals that were there. I had a friend of mine from 1199. There was somebody
MEA.
from MEA was there. Comro. There were people in the house, as they say, and so
It takes a village.
It takes a lot of folks standing together because it's true that sometimes we stand on the shoulder of giants, but giants, so-called giants, also stand together with masses of people who fight back with them every day because none of us can do this alone. You have to have an army with you, otherwise you're a dead duck. So I again shout out to the army that is fighting this battle, the army that is funding this battle, the army that's not stopping. And so let me now transition into what's going on with DC37 Retiree Association. So the couple weeks ago, three staffers at our office were sitting there doing their work when in barged a group of AFSCME staffers. Some people have called them a goon squad. Some people have called them thugs. I'm going to say they're AFSCME staffers. I'll be nice and charitable to them.
Okay.
But they intimidated our staff. They, in fact, tried to take somebody's cell phone away from them. I think the staffers thought that our retirees get issued telephones because AFSCME staffers get all kinds of perks, including an AFSCME phone. We don't give out retiree phones. You know, there are landline telephones in the office that belong to the association, but people come into the office with their own cell phones. So Pilar, who was the person they tried to intimidate, Pilar was very angry and she was not intimidated. And she probably used some choice language that I'm not going to say the words. I don't know for sure what words she used, but she was not intimidated. And anyway, they came into the office, they seized our books, they seized the bank accounts, they took over all our communications. And so we had a fairly robust email blast that we could do to reach our members. 17,000 messages could be sent out. And we had done that very often. And we had done a lot of that talking about demonstrations against Medicare Advantage and other things. We're not a one-note band, so we send out messages about other stuff, but we use that technology and our website to highlight this struggle. Our website, by the way, has been changed. It has new content. It's got all sorts of stuff about what AFSCME is doing all around the country. It has zero about the struggle around Medicare disadvantage. it looks like a generic AFSCME website that could exist anywhere in the United States, and it doesn't really address New York City AFSCME retiree issues. So they took over all those things, and they have scheduled a hearing for the 14th next week. And we're not sure exactly. I haven't received any formal charges telling me what I'm being charged of myself have not doing, of anything. But I'm supposed to be there. I'm allowed to be there to answer some ambiguous question about what was went wrong. I actually asked for some information, and stuff went out from AFSCME saying that we had not submitted our 990 forms. For people who don't know, a 990 form is an IRS form that you have to submit annually to retain not-for-profit status. And we're supposed to have done that. The treasurer does reports monthly, annually, and he also submits those financial records to an accountant, and the accountant is supposed to prepare the 990s and send them to the IRS. For whatever reason, that was not done. I'm not sure why, but in preparing for this hearing, I asked AFSCME, since they have all our books and records, I said I would like to have a copy of all the communications between the Retiree Association and the accountant. I want to know when we sent things to him, what he may have sent back to us. Did he say, you didn't send me the right stuff? Did he say, everything is fine? Did he say, I'm a little behind, but I'm getting to it? What did he say? And they said, their answer to me was that you're not being charged with any, there are no charges relating to this issue. This hearing is only to determine whether Lee Saunders should have seized the retiree office, put you in trusteeship. And that's weird because are they charging Lee Saunders with having done something wrong? I don't know, because if I'm brought on charges, I would expect to see specifications, what I did on such and such a date. I've seen charges before. That's what I was a shop steward for a long time.
You and I asked those same questions. We got that same vague answer by Ann Widger.
What is this? Anyway, what we have said in the statement that we at the board, the X board, I'll call us the X board, put out, is that in Ann Widger's statement, she indicated that some people might think that all of this is because we, the Retiree Association, voted to restart our monthly contributions in support of the legal cases brought against the Medicare Disadvantage Plan. We voted in January, retroactively to last July 1st, to give $2,000 a month towards that campaign. It's not the biggest contribution in the world. It's not the smallest either, but it apparently got AFSCME very, very angry. They said that's not the reason for what they have done, but we think it is. And we think that if we had not done this, maybe they would have said at some point, you needed to do those 770s. You've got to get back in compliance. And maybe they would have sent somebody to our office and helped us get into compliance. I'm told that's the normal procedure. I'm told there's such a thing also as progressive disciplinary in AFSCME, that you start off with a warning. You say you need to get your act together. You don't start off by dropping the atomic bomb on the office.
Well,
You
especially that you're all volunteers. I mean, and that you're a subordinate organization, you were still adhering to your constitution. And you would have thought with two parental organizations above you, the union, DC37, the district council, as well as the international, that someone should have said, let me help you. Let's do this the right way. Let me show you what to do. Take them under your wing.
exactly. And I'm told that in truth, there have been weekly meetings between the president of the association, Bob Gervasi, and Jose Sierra, the executive vice president, and along with Ann Widger and other people from her office to discuss getting up to speed. Bob Gervasi was a newly elected president who had not been active in the association before, and they were helping him acclimate to the job. Well, excuse me, why didn't you tell him part of your job is to do your 990s? You know, when we were looking at this whole scenario, one of the things they were quoting line and verse from the AFSCME Constitution. So I took a look at the AFSCME Constitution, and in the AFSCME Constitution, there is something about the duties of the Secretary Treasurer. Her name is Alyssa McBride. So I'll quote, at least once each year, the International Union shall review and where appropriate, audit the financial books and other records of each, I can't read my writing, and each local having 2,000 or more members. Such report shall advise subordinate bodies of any deficiencies and recommend remedies. So I've asked the current president and the past presidents whether they ever got a report from the Secretary Treasurer's office about any deficiencies and remedies regarding the 990s. They never have. They tell me that they never received a notification from the IRS that there was a problem with the 990s. This was something that apparently slipped through the cracks until finally caught. But so I don't know if charges are being brought against Alyssa McBride for failing to do her job, but I don't think so. The other thing that I'm going to say is not to beat up on this accountant, but I'm told the accountant that we were using is somebody that over the years has worked on the accounts of some 30 District Council 37 locals. District Council 37 is an amalgam of over 50 locals that have contracts with the city of New York, and they're recently incorporated former locals that were in District Council 1707. So it's bigger than what it's before. And many of those locals, number one, use this same accountant. I believe they were probably behind in their filings. I'm not going to name names and point fingers, but I think that's probably the case. And again, to me, it's further proof that the issue here is our support of the legal action against retirees being placed in Medicare disadvantage plan. And I have no doubt that that's the case.
I tend to agree with you because they wouldn't have sent, Ann Widger wouldn't have sent that letter in June, basically threatening that if you continued the donations to the litigation fight, the legal fight to our organization, that, if you did continue, that bad things would happen. And of course, you continued and bad things happened once you reinstated it. And at the time in June, those 990s hadn't been filed, and it hadn't been filed for several years. That would have been the opportunity for them to say, let's catch this up to speed, or let's fix this. They didn't. So I agree with you. It was completely punitive. What I don't like though is that for everyone that's watching tonight, tonight is important because I wanted to have Neal on to give him a platform to be able to talk to all DC37 retirees and any retiree that is an AFSCME retiree, meaning your local is part of, like, whatever your local is, AFSCME, or, you know, that you are part of the AFSCME title, or under an AFSCME international, because then you are able to join this conversation. The reason why is we're going to send out an email tonight. If you didn't already get one, there's a couple of things that you need to do. If you want to participate as an interested party and watch this proceeding, this judicial hearing that they're being ordered to, you need to send in a form. So you have to click this form, which we're going to give you. You have to sign it, date it, and email it back to AFSCME to let them know that you intend to be there. And then you have to click a link and register for the Zoom call. And there's rules. That document you'll be signing is the rules. Now, it's a little misleading. It says you must be on camera on the Zoom call, but you, of course, can call in. We did confirm that. So if you don't have a video, or you don't have an iPhone, or you don't have a computer, you're able to dial in. We did confirm that, so don't freak out when you see that form. You can call in. But that form has to be in by Sunday night by midnight. So that's why we wanted to stop everything that we were doing and give Neal an opportunity to show support and solidarity as the way we know how to give Neal that opportunity to say, this is what we need you to do. So Gerald is asking, is there a way for you to appeal what they did? Gerald, they haven't even been charged with anything. They're just told they have to go to this hearing to determine is Lee Saunders the president of AFSCME?
He's
Director?
He's the president of AFSCME.
To determine if Lee Saunders, the president of AFSCME, who used to be a former executive director of DC37.
No.
Wasn't he?
He was the administrator. DC37 was placed in administratorship in the 1990s. Lee Saunders was placed by AFSCME in charge of DC37.
That was
he remained there until an agreement was made to have Lillian Roberts take over as an elected executive director of District Council 37. And he was in that position
You're right.
for a number of years. Let me just say one thing about the judicial panel while we're talking about it. The judicial panel consists of people who have been appointed by the president of AFSCME. President of AFSCME is Lee Saunders. Lee Saunders brought this administratorship down on our heads.
Yes.
Who is going to decide whether that was appropriate are people that he has handpicked.
Right.
The format of a judicial panel hearing is such that the rules are not friendly to the defendants. Let me just say that. And as I said earlier, I had asked for certain documents that are germane to the issue, seem to me germane to the issue of why they came after us like gangbusters around the 990s. What was the information going back and forth between the Retiree Association and the accountant? We not have to know the history of that to determine where fault lies, what remedies could be made, and how serious was the problem. And my understanding was initially, after this problem was determined to exist, Ann Widger spoke to this accountant. The accountant told one of our executive board members that it was a good conversation, not an adversarial conversation, and that he thought they agreed that they could work out any problems concerning submission of the 990s. He acknowledged that they were had not been submitted in a timely fashion, but he could remedy that. So we want to know the dates, the facts, the correspondence, and they said, no, you can't have that.
Yeah, they weren't being very forthcoming with my communications either, which I was not happy about. But so what we're trying to do is get as many of you to get on that call, at least that way you could bear witness to this, what some people have described as a kangaroo court. But we want to watch this process to make sure that there's enough witnesses to know that here's a board of people who are volunteers that were doing whatever it is that they could, that they have an accountant that they were paying, that to their belief was being paid to do this work. There's a question about has he answered? I don't believe he has answered anything yet, but I think the communications they're trying to open those communications, Gerald, with him. We don't know if he will be there on the 14th or not, but your document, you have to register to attend and you have to return that video agreement in, just sign it and send it in to Ms. Plum, and the information will be in the email. We put it up the other day. I think I posted it as well on the Facebook page, but to the email, if what I'll do is I'll send the email out and I'll also post the link in the Facebook page. But you guys, you really need to join our email list on the MailChimp. You must. That's our way of getting in touch with you. The other thing we're doing is helping Neal get in touch with the DC37 retirees, because when AFSCME took over the Retirees Association, they blocked them from all their communications with their members. No phone numbers, no emails, no nothing. So we're trying to get the word out. He has an email address, DC37retirees@gmail.com. In the chat above, and I will make a separate post later, but I did put the sign up form for his MailChimp account so that you can sign up for his email list. It asks the same kind of information as us, like name, address, phone number, email, union, when you retired, yeah, stuff like that, your phone number, because they do need to get in touch with you. They need to keep what's going on, let you know what's going on, because all of a sudden, very soon, the only messaging you're going to hear is from Ann Widger, who took over the Retirees Association, and that's it. You're not going to hear from them. So we want to keep this lines of communications open, and that way you know. So don't give us your email in the chat. You can email Neal at DC37retirees@gmail.com, and then look above, you'll see I posted the link, and Deborah Scott's giving us her email address. So please go to Deborah Scott if you're listening. Go email Neal at DC37retirees@gmail.com, and we can always help walk you through signing up for the email list. Okay. It's DC37retirees with an S @gmail.com. And that's how you get in touch with them. So we want to make sure that you guys stay in touch with Neal and the team. Can you sue to get your email list back? Actually, the DC37 retirees are a subordinate organization. So like they got parents and grandparents, right? Like the parent would be DC37 and the grandparents would be the international, would be AFSCME. But they're basically treating them like bastard stepchildren and locking them in the basement.
So let me just say something about sometimes this is called being placed in receivership.
Yeah.
This is something that international unions, if you're an auto worker, if you're a whatever AFT, you often are affiliated with a nationwide organization, and you have to abide by their constitution to be part of a subordinate of that organization. And what they did is based on their constitution. Whether they correctly are preferring charges or not is another matter. But they are allowed to seize books and records. They can go into the office. They did some stuff, by the way, that maybe wasn't legal. They went into the office and they claimed to be the leaseholders. Their name's not on the lease. And, you know, the landlord was not pleased at all. They finally came to some kind of accommodation with the landlord later on, but they went beyond what they're allowed to do. What they can do to us, we are a subordinate, is take over our operations if we are in violation of something. But again, they should, if they are claiming that, they need to give charges and specifications for each and every person that they are charging. They charged 23 people, some of whom live in Florida. They are in our Florida subchapters, in Orlando, in St. Pete, in Fort Lauderdale. We have a lot of retirees there. For some reason, they didn't charge someone on our board who's in North Carolina. I won't say his name because maybe they'll decide to charge him. But you know, there were a lot of people, and one of the things that I also said to AFSCME was, you know, we are an older group. Not everybody on the board has tremendous facility with computers and emails and knowing how to answer and electronically sign documents and things of that sort. And I asked for accommodations to deal with people who could not function easily on the platform that this hearing is going to be held on. They said no. And it's just terrible. I mean, you know, I do a Zoom meeting for the Retirees Association, and probably, I'm going to say charitably, 40% of the people who come on that Zoom meeting come on by telephone because they either don't have telephones, don't have computers, or don't know how to access a Zoom meeting on their computer. And so that's, I'm used to that. And I know that that's something that with an older cohort and people who are very often not in professional unions, they were blue collar workers, they were, you know, people who were not used to using these devices. They just not able to handle it very easily. Not all, but some. So we got no accommodations whatsoever.
No, and as you said when we were at the rally the other day, that during COVID, you asked for help and were given no help, yet your team still showed up to run that office, answer those calls, and help people, and yet AFSCME was nowhere near to be found.
Right. When I retired, the retiree office at DC37 headquarters had 9 people working there. It's a part-time operation. It was open Monday to Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's part-time. When during COVID, we had 2 or 3 people in the office. Sometimes we had one person in the office, and literally we would get inundated with stacks of mail. Ed Hissick, who was the president during COVID, used to go to the DC37 mailroom with a luggage, a Pullman piece of luggage, fill it up with the mail and bring it back to the office and work on it at his desk. Well, you know, that volume of mail takes a long time to figure out what's going on. Some were checks for dues, some were problems people were having, and you have to go through each one at a time and figure out what needed to be done and respond to them. So this was hard, and we did ask for help, and none was given. Nobody came up from AFSCME to help staff our operation. This was a period, by the way, when DC37 offices were closed. when New York City offices were closed.
Yep.
The retiree office was open.
Yep. You have a lot of support here, so you know. Marcia Biederman says, years ago, I was a typesetter's local, in a typesetter's local, that the international threatened with receivership, but that was because the men in the local were sexually harassing the women. Receivership should be a last resort only for egregious violations, and in that case, it never happened. The threat of receivership was enough to affect change. Now, Marcia, you make a very valid point, because we said that they can show that they had given their documents to the accountant who was supposed to be doing this. That should have been their job. They gave everything, but it gave everything to the gentleman to handle. If there was a mistake, it shouldn't have been caught 6 years later. It should have been caught by the district council or the international, like within a year or two, or not even the year. Like whenever these documents, like for example, DC37, their treasurer sends documents out to their union presidents, and as a reminder, like, hey, psst, this has got to get done. Our own tax attorney says that to us, like, we got to get this done. Let's do this. If this is the deadline, if you can't make the deadline, then you've got to file an extension. It gives you 6 more months to file your paperwork. So for a 990 for a nonprofit organization, you're not paying taxes, but you just got to show the IRS like what came in, what went out. That's the same thing that we have to do. And yet if you can't do it, which they're due by May 15th, you have to file for a 6-month extension, and you have until November. They're thinking that this has been done for them. Meanwhile, DC37 reminds its locals, and if you look at DC37's letterhead, the very bottom says the Retirees Association with the president of the Retirees Association. No one has, there's been a lapse here. And this is why I don't think, my belief, and you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I think I'm a smart person. I think that there was a lot of failures above you of where things could have helped, they could have helped you along the way. This is why I think this is strictly punitive for what you're doing, because I believe they have failures on their side as well. But I agree with you, Marcia. That should have been a last resort. And knowing though that this group had gone to them for guidance or help, and they decided to smack them around rather than help them. Ellen says, I would like to thank the DC37 retirees and Neal for showing up at the New York City retiree rallies despite difficult conditions, such as when it was hot or when there was rain. And we appreciate your brotherly and sisterly support. Today is Women's Day, and we are sending sisterly support to the DC37 retirees. Thank you, Ellen. That was very sweet. You got to see all those ladies out there in the video. Go watch our video if you haven't already. We live streamed being together, and there were some pretty awesome women there that day as well. Evie Jones Rich. Evie is one of our elder retirees. I think Evie's like 90. A powerhouse. This woman is very strong. Great set of lungs on her. Was hollering into that microphone. Was very not happy about Mayor Adams trying to take away our Medicare, and of course what AFSCME has been doing to you guys. So you've got a real good cheerleader there.
We were well represented in terms of women helping to lead that rally.
Michelle Keller.
Michelle Keller, Aria Mongrel, Sally, I mentioned before,
Sexy
and
Sally,
and others who spoke. But we wanted to make sure that this was not a rally that, you know, was just old white men lecturing the body. That's not what it was.
No, we were good.
It was a very inclusive rally. If I'm going to toot my horn, I'm going to say that we made sure that that's what the rally would be, and it was.
You had good representation, absolutely, and a lot of support. It was wonderful to be there. The spirit was wonderful, and to see everybody. I was so surprised when I showed up and there was Sally sitting in a chair on the sidewalk. So, but that does show when they say solidarity, and that's what bothers me because those emails from AFSCME say in solidarity. That's not solidarity, dude. Coming out on a cold day in March with the threat of rain, which we ended just as it started to rain. But we've been in rallies, you and I, when it was raining, and we didn't care. We just
Oh,
huddled
yes.
together. But this is what it's about. And you knew that even under the threat of AFSCME threatening you in June, your board still came together and said, this is the right thing to do, is to make a donation to this litigation to fight to protect what was promised to us in our traditional Medicare. So my heart breaks for you, honestly, that this is what you're going through, but we want you to know that you have all of us behind you, with you, and that all of us that are DC37 retirees or an AFSCME retiree will make sure that we get that information out to them tonight so that they can get that document back into AFSCME by Sunday night at midnight. Just email it to Ms. Plum. We'll email it out. I'll post the information. I'll post the link to the newsletter. If you're not on that newsletter, I'll post the link into our Facebook page. Please register on the Zoom link. Please send a signed video form back to Ms. Plum. I'll include the email address. Please also, I did in this live stream, I've pinned my comment with Neal's Gmail account, with Neal's sign-up sheet so that he can stay in touch with you. This is important to keep the family together because this is where they'll start to try to, break us apart. You don't do this. We don't let anyone break us apart. We stand in solidarity.
So are there other questions that people have, Marianne? Maybe we should try to address.
Let's see. Deborah Scott says the retirees in their eyes should be quiet and accept lies. Neal and the team helped many retirees, and the meetings are very informative. So that's from Deborah.
Thank you.
Seal Mart says you guys were great. Camille, yay. Michelle Keller. Laura Genevieve, she was there as well the other day. She says, AFSCME isn't showing that they're interested in helping nor saving our lives. We stand with those who care. Thank you. Yolanda Pomiero, Yolanda says, Happy Women's International Day. Thank you for all you do. Love you, Yolanda. Anne-Marie Eliano, what's that saying? Health has no feeling like a woman scorned. Yeah, some drivers were honking their horns in support when they saw our signs. Yes, they were, Laura. Let's see. Camille, Ed Hissick told it like it was from the beginning. Gerald, what is Garrido doing to correct your situation? Come on, Gerald. He's doing God.
Let me just one a former board member, I won't say his name, reached out to Henry after one of the many losses in the legal cases, and he said, Henry, this loss after loss after loss, do you have a plan B? So the plan B was, no, there is no plan B. We're going full steam ahead with our original plan. That's it. That's what we're doing. So some people think that you can, be open to negotiating with Henry, well, and the MLC, not going to happen.
No. Gerald says his silence tells it all. It does. So, all right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. I want a few things to let you know in cleaning up our little details here. Neal, before I move into this segment, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think we covered it all. I want to thank you,
cool.
Marianne, for this opportunity, and thanks all for people on this Zoom and Facebook live stream for all the support. We need it. You need it. We're all in this together.
Thank you. Ellen says, is there a way for those of us who are not DC37 retirees to contribute to the legal fund for the DC37 retirees? So Ellen, they haven't set up any fund per se yet, but that's something Neal and I can talk with afterwards. If they need one, we can help them do that. But I'll get back to you on that. Let's see what happens. Our goal is to hopefully the AFSCME comes up to a decision that this was wrongful for what they did and reinstates them. That's the goal, I believe here. Would I be correct on saying that? Yeah.
Yes,
So they should be reinstated. That is our position. That's at least my position, Neal's position. They should be reinstated that this was
absolutely.
erroneous and that there was a better way to handle it. Um, and then we're just gonna take it from there. But Ellen, I'll get back to you on that. So Sunday is daylight savings time. Make sure you spring ahead. Not only just springing ahead because I wouldn't be a good fire department retiree if I didn't tell you, make sure you change all of your batteries and your smoke detectors because that's what we tell you to do. And if you're like me, I always put a date on mine just in case I forget if I missed one. I know it's old. So change all your batteries and your smoke detectors. Clock go ahead on Sunday night. We also reached our fundraising goal. We had put up our goal just over a month ago for a $250,000 cap, and we hit that goal mark. So we want to say thank you. We hit it $251,000. So thank you guys. Going into litigation, that's going to be extremely important. We do have court on March 21st. We have not been granted an absolute start time yet. As we get a little closer, I will let you know because then we will start putting out directions about what to do that day. And then we're still waiting on court dates for the first two cases. We don't have anything yet there. If you received an email from us, and it would probably come from an email of like retirees, OOS or something, NYC Retirees OOS, we asked you to do an affidavit. You need to get that affidavit into us. I can't keep saying this. We've sent out multiple emails and you guys are not responding. So please, if you've got an email from us, please get them in. If you're having trouble, we will help you write them. And I think that is about it. We're gonna start having other guests on Friday nights to try to make some awareness on some of these issues going forward and keep you guys your interest piqued and get some new information from us. So today was a great day to be able to host Neal, especially with the timing of this. Again, I'm going to post it and email it, those documents, the video policy agreement or video agreement, whatever the hell you want to call it, is due Sunday night by midnight back to AFSCME. Please sign it, read it, sign it, email it back to them. Click the link to register to attend that hearing so that we could all be there for Neal and his team. That is important to show support and solidarity and let him know that we got his back on this one, and let AFSCME know we're all watching. That's all I got. You got anything else? No?
Just shout out. I know there's somebody else on this. Marianne, you said somebody was joining from Canarsie, so I have to shout out to my fellow Brooklynite. I'm here in Brooklyn by Prospect Park, not the Park Slope side, the east side of the park. So shout out, Brooklyn's in the house.
There you go. You actually have a few more people. Adele Wilson, thank you, Neal. Anne Marie Iliano, good night, all, and thank you, Neal. Carol Blum, thank you. I can't be there in person, but I will keep donating every month. Janet Paul Familaro, thank you, Neal. David Evan Karen Angle, thank you for your strength. William Shenton, William was with you. He was actually right behind you. William is one of our retirees from NYCHA. Good night and have a great weekend. He came from New Jersey to be there with you. Roberta Gonzalez, thank you and good luck. Thank you, Neal. So you've got a lot of support.
Well,
Yes, Peter.
I thank all of them because nobody can do this on their own. You need to have an army. That's what I say.
Yes, we have a retiree army. Like I said that day, they woke a sleeping giant and we are that giant.
They poked us, and we, that's it.
Yep.
You know what I say? We may be retired, but we haven't expired, and
Yeah,
we
I
will
love
fight
that.
back.
Absolutely. Lila Lieberman, are only DC37 people able to join the Zoom? Yes. DC37 retirees or AFSCME. If your local was an AFSCME local, AFSCME related union, yes, you can join. If you are not, they will not let you in. They made that clear. Marilyn Gaffney says, Marine Park here.
Okay.
Sherry Schleckman, good night, and I'll keep donating. Neal, you worked very hard for DC37 retirees. You got love. I'm telling you, there's a lot of support for you here. Ann Elterman, former Brooklyn gal. David Evans, former Brooklynites here. Thank you. You have a lot of support. So that shows you that we're doing something right. David Schatz, as per the wise ruling of State Supreme Court Judge Lyle Frank, retirees will prevail. That's great. Guys, I appreciate you. Thank you to our board moderators. Thank you to everyone. Thank you for your support. Thank you everyone who came out to the rally. It was wonderful to see all of you. That we cannot do this without you. We know it's a burden. Trust me, we do. We're all tired from this. We are fighting this literally 3 years this month is when the news first broke. So thank you. This is as someone from NIOSH CDC told me today, because I'm still dealing with World Trade Center fight as well. They said that change is a process, not an event.
Oh, so I also say that to be attacked by your enemy is a good thing. It means
Yeah.
you're doing something right.
Yes, yes.
We got the bad guys' attention.
Yeah, that's a famous quote by Winston Churchill. Well, until the next time, you guys, you have an awesome weekend. Try to relax, step away from your computers. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for everything you do. Neal, thank you for joining us and sharing that information. I will get that information out to everyone and post it. Send it even by email. Remember, guys, check out the information if you are a DC37 retiree to sign up for his emails and his email address to communicate with him. So I did pin my post on this thread so that you can see it, but I will also post it up later. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I will see you Monday. Good night.
Thank
Night,
you,
Neal. You have
Marianne.
a great week.
You too. Good night.
All right. Bye.